All right, guys, Slaughterhouse, Kurt Magoosh, Kyler Murray. That's the guy that we're going to be talking about right now on our first video of this afternoon stretch, all right? So Kyler Murray. All right, so Kyler Murray in Arizona, he's getting paid $230 million over 5 years. It was a good decision not to go into Major League Baseball, go the minor league route. You look at Mickey Moniak and a lot of guys that have been drafted high, even Mick Abel or what's the guy's name on the Phillies that's a relief pitcher that's 30 years old, hasn't ever played in the major league. So it's so hard to make it in Major League Baseball. You saw that even with Tim Tebow. I mean, it's tough to make it. There's first-round picks right now. It's just a crazy minor league environment. He was great at Oklahoma for that 1 year, Kyler Murray. He was unbelievable in high school. That's why he even got the opportunity to go to Oklahoma, because his dad, Kenneth Murray, is a very astute quarterback coach, played at Texas A&M. So Kyler Murray was battling, I think, with Trevor Knight at A&M, with Kevin Sumlin. It wasn't really going that well. He was a very mediocre player at A&M. He then sat behind Baker Mayfield 2 more years later. He's a junior. He's older. He plays great. He has an outstanding season, wins the Heisman Trophy under Lincoln Riley. Then he got to the NFL. Everybody thought that he couldn't make it whatsoever. We all remember that game preseason where he really struggled, and it was an adjustment, but he started from day one. Cliff Kingsbury was there. Everybody thought, why hire an 8-win college coach to lead your team? And Arizona was able to make the playoffs last year and actually be a 5th seed in the playoffs. So even under the original model of the NFL playoffs that lasted for the last 20 years, Arizona still would have made the playoffs even if this were 10 years ago or 5 years ago or 3 years ago, when the playoffs wasn't some gigantic, participation trophy era of playoffs. Meaning all right, you can have a Chicago Bears of Mitchell Trubisky and Matt Nagy go 9-8 or whatever the heck the NFL is with 17 games, and they make the playoffs, and then they play the worst playoff game of your life against the New Orleans Saints. All right, so Arizona really made the playoffs the old-fashioned way. They got a 5th seed. They were unbelievable to start the year. They were 8-0 to start the year. But then, kind of like Kingsbury's teams did at Texas Tech, they fizzled out. The culture must have just fizzled out completely. The defense fell off. They lost to Aaron Rodgers when Aaron Rodgers was throwing the guys from Best Buy. All right? They lost to Carson Wentz. They made Carson Wentz look like Johnny Unitas in that 4th quarter, Arizona. And then, you have a playoff game. You're playing your division rival, the Los Angeles Rams, and I guess you could, in defense of Arizona, look now in hindsight and say, well, that Rams team went on to be world champions and the best team in the NFL last year, but they weren't even close in that game. I mean, I know that Kyler Murray did not have his main wide receiver, DeAndre Hopkins, and the season really went to crap when Nuke Hopkins got hurt. For people saying that it wasn't a big deal that DeAndre Hopkins got injured, that Kyler Murray can still lead this Arizona team, when Nuke Hopkins went out, that's when the team went to absolute crap. So Hopkins was really the most valuable player on Arizona last year. Okay, Nuke Hopkins, a wide receiver. So that's the thing. So he was very crucial to Arizona and their success, all right, and their offense. And Kyler Murray played a horrendous playoff game. He was tossing the ball like a bowling ball, like he was at duck bowling, okay? He was tossing the ball out of the end zone, making Dan Orlovsky's safety look like a respectable play. He threw one of the worst pick sixes you're ever going to see. I mean, that game wasn't even close. Matt Stafford only had to throw 17 passes. I mean, the Rams could have put in their third-string team. They could have played like an August-style game and still beaten Arizona. It was a waste of time. It was terrible to watch. I was already exhausted from watching, whatever. How many playoff games does the NFL have? 6 playoff games? You have to endure 17 games of a season and then 6 playoff games. I guess I shouldn't be complaining. winning, right? I guess I should love football, but even people who love football, how could you be inspired by that Arizona LA Rams game on that ESPN telecast? That was absolute horse crap. Bottom line, is this good for the Arizona Cardinals? Is this a smart business decision to make? History would tell you no. You look at Russell Wilson with Seattle. I said the contract was idiocy to begin with, okay? And Russell Wilson's a top 6 quarterback in the NFL. Now you're giving Kyler Murray, who's a top maybe 11, 12 quarterback, can put up some numbers at the beginning of the season, can run around a little bit, is mobile, has all right arm strength. I would say his arm strength's like a 6.5 out of 10, a 7 out of 10 for a starting caliber quarterback. Murray's, very good at escaping the pocket. He's made better because of Nuke Hopkins for sure, and I think they're going to have DeAndre Hopkins for a couple of more years. He's an explosive player. He'll take chances with the ball. He'll create explosives because of those chances. He's great at escaping the pocket. He is the fastest quarterback in the NFL, but he is on the smaller side. So unlike Lamar Jackson, who's 6'4", who can withstand a hit, Kyler Murray is 5'10", and it's really hard to make it when you're under 6 feet as a quarterback, in the NFL. So the thing is now, let's look at the contracts of recency. I mean, you look at Drew Brees and the Saints, they put up good offense, but they weren't a threat. Russell Wilson in Seattle was, they made the playoffs, and they weren't a threat when they got there. They bowed out quickly because it was too much on the quarterback. All right, you look at the teams that are the best teams. You had Mahomes when he was in his rookie deal. You had Josh Allen in the rookie deal. Stafford, a very affordable contract. Tom Brady in the 30s, affordable contract. Let's continue to look at the teams that were really successful. Jimmy Garoppolo's team, great defense. You have Nick Bosa. You're able to get Trent Williams in a trade. You have Deebo Samuel and Ayuk, George Kittle. So you're able to really have a complete team with Fred Warner, that defense, all right, good secondary pieces, but really the defensive line, Arik Armstead and Nick Bosa was phenomenal in the postseason, in the playoffs. All right, so you're able to create a wonderful team that is able to play complete football, that is able to go to Green Bay and play a masterpiece of a game, even with a quarterback that last year with a thumb injury was still, maybe a top 15 quarterback in the NFL. You're able to get hot and you're able to almost go out and you're winning by 10 points ready to make a Super Bowl because you have a quarterback that is under an appropriate contract. This contract is absolutely abysmal for Arizona. The only reason they're doing this contract is because they're scared. They're scared of not having a quarterback. They're scared of being where Josh Rosen was a couple of years ago. So it's fear. It's fear. But if I were Arizona, honestly, and this might be ridiculous because you're saying you're ripping this contract. All right, the point is Arizona just reserved their spot in 8-8, 7 wins, 9-win land, where they're not going to be competing for championships, all right? And your goal as a team in a league should be to compete at the end of the year for a championship. That's your goal. I mean, if you want to put on a product that, listen, you're probably not going to be the worst team in the NFL now that you have Kyler Murray as your quarterback, but you're going to be very, very pedestrian. You're going to be very average. You're going to be a tiny bit above average. You're never going to get clowned on, but you're going to fade into oblivion, basically. You're going to be completely in purgatory. You're not going to have a chance to be special. You can't allocate the roster the way it needs to be put. And you have Vance Joseph, who is, a creative defensive coordinator. Cliff Kingsbury has really struggled towards the end of these past couple of years. He starts out well, but then he doesn't really finish the season well. And I think that his offense, it is an air raid offense, but is it really creative? Their offensive line isn't particularly good. Their running back situation, I don't even really know they had Chase Edmonds, who's a decent running back, but I don't think they have a really good running back situation in Arizona. Now, I could be called out on that. So their team really isn't balanced at all. All right. Your defense, they do have Isaiah Simmons, Budda Baker. They do have talented players on defense, but they don't play consistent football at the end of the season. I don't believe that the culture with Kingsbury is very good. I don't believe they're a mentally tough group. And that was really highlighted last year during the playoffs when they bowed out in embarrassing fashion. They were just awful in that game, and they really slowed down, and their season came to a crashing halt in week 13 and week 14. So they went to Detroit and got blasted by the Detroit Lions last year, this football team. All right, so maybe this year, if I were Arizona, if I were Michael Bidwell, the owner, I would tell Cliff Kingsbury, cool it in September. Like, go like 2-2, try to be 500 in September because you have to peak at the right time. Whatever strength and conditioning staff you have, they're not doing a savvy job of really peaking late in the season. You want to be playing your best football come late November. That's really when the NFL season starts, is late November. You look at Kansas City last year. Kansas City had the chance to go all the way to the Super Bowl. Their defense was horrendous to start the season, but it did not matter. It's an extension of preseason because, again, we got 17 games. This is the streaming NFL. You know, the games are going to be played in different time zones, different countries, and it's streaming NFL. It's 17 games, now going to be 18 games. So, again, in a couple of years, this contract of $230 million, it's not going to be that bad because you look at Dak Prescott and everyone flips out, oh, my God, Dak is making $40 million. Now it looks like a bargain because the television deals, I mean, Zach Wilson and Trevor Lawrence are going to be getting paid $60 million. Trey Lance is going to make $70 million annually. It's just going to be like baseball. It's going to keep going up. There is no bubble for the NFL. The business isn't slowing down, all right? So that's what's going on with NFL football. But right now, this contract for Kyler Murray, he's still taking on a majority of the team. And he's not a Patrick Mahomes. He's not Aaron Rodgers. He's not, old Tom Brady. He is not first ballot material, Hall of Fame material. And he's a decent quarterback that can get you 7 wins, but he's on the smaller side. He could be injury prone because he is smaller. His arm strength isn't absolutely ridiculous. The coaching is all right, but it's not like Kingsbury is at the Sean Payton level. So, I look at Arizona, and they might have one all right season this year, but they're never going to win a Super Bowl now. If I were Arizona, honestly, I would look at getting rid of Kingsbury because I think he's an all right coach. But I would look at hiring a defensive-minded coach with the guys that you've drafted. I would have traded Kyler Murray probably for 2 first-round picks, and then next year you could try to draft a C.J. Stroud. Because is there really going to be a big difference between Malik Willis, Desmond Ridder, and Kyler Murray? I'm not completely sure. I mean, I think Malik Willis could even maybe be better than Kyler Murray. And you could have gotten a Malik Willis in the 3rd round. You can pay a Jimmy Garoppolo or a Baker Mayfield. You can pay them $25 million. You can pay a Drew Lock $20 million, and you could stack your team and have a complete team with a great defense, with a coach that is committed to defense, that peaks at the right time at the end of the year, and you can have a team that is ready to go compete and actually make noise late in the playoffs and actually compete for that championship. You look at how the Eagles are building. They're able to bring in A.J. Brown. They're able to sign Hassan Reddick. They're able to keep their offensive line intact, and they have a good, quarterback on a rookie deal, a decent quarterback, all right? And that's how you get deep in the playoffs, by having strong run game, having a good offensive line, and then having a quarterback that is decent under his rookie contract. Look at Cincinnati, all right? They signed some free agents. Now, it is unbelievable what Zach Taylor was able to do with this team. And you got to give credit to Joe Burrow for being tough, for peaking at the right time, for coming up with the throws when necessary. All right? But look at Joe Burrow. Look at Justin Herbert, who's under his rookie deal. All right? So I really think the Chargers are going to win the Super Bowl this year because they have a young coach that's very good, because they're able to sign Khalil Mack, right? They're able to trade for him. You still have Bosa. You still have Kenneth Murray. You still have a good linebacking core. They have some cornerbacks, the guy from Denver, right? Harris. they have a really complete team. Offensive line is fine. They hit on the Northwestern kid Slater. They're going to be absolutely phenomenal. And their quarterback is a really great quarterback that's under a rookie deal. That was the third quarterback selected in that draft because he couldn't win a big game at Oregon. So that's the way to do it, is to hit on a rookie quarterback in the draft. And then Justin Herbert, you know what? He is one of those guys that is 6'5", that has the biggest arm, that, is really cerebral, really sees the game well on the field, has Carmichael as an offensive coordinator. He's on a track to be a first ballot Hall of Fame guy. Went toe-to-toe with Tom Brady. First year in the league, he's already a top 5 quarterback. He's one of those guys that's like Mahomes, where he's so damn good that you're going to have to bite the bullet and make him the highest paid guy for a couple of years, for about a 4-year span. You look at Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson for a 4-year span could still be really good. And he's won I would not give Jackson a 5-year deal, but I'd give him a 4-year deal. Because Lamar Jackson, once he hits 30, a lot of his game is built on his ability to extend plays and get outside the pocket. His arm strength is okay, but really Lamar Jackson is an accurate quarterback who could fire the ball underneath, and he's so great at taking the football and running with it as a playmaker that once he hits 30 years old, he might hit a wall, kind of like guys that carry the football around a lot. Now, like a Sean Alexander, for example, some guys, they hit the wall and it's over. So, how will Lamar Jackson be into his 30s? Will he still be an excellent, excellent player? But I look at Lamar Jackson at 6'4". I believe he is much better than Kyler Murray, and he's accomplished a ton more. I mean, his team has made the divisional round of the playoffs twice. And his team was the number 1 seed when, in his second year when he won the MVP. His team could have won the Super Bowl that year. They were that good. They had a 14-win season in that season. All right, so Lamar Jackson is worth a 4-year contract, all right? And he's worth a little bit more than Kyler Murray is, all right? So you pay him a 4-year contract. Deshaun Watson's deal with Cleveland is very interesting, but Deshaun Watson's also a lot better than Kyler Murray. Deshaun Watson took a depleted Texans team, all right, and took them to the playoffs in multiple years, all right? And he did this with no weapons, and he's 6'2", and he's an excellent passer, one of the best throwers in the league, all right? Also with mobility, but as a thrower, he is excellent. He is better as a thrower than even Lamar Jackson is as a thrower, certainly than Kyler Murray. So this contract with Kyler Murray, who's on the smaller side, who has never performed in playoff games, it's only had really 2 seasons of real decent ball, is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, it's a very, it's actually not ridiculous, but for Arizona, it's going to sink them. All right. The way that you would have done it is, let Kyler hold out, and then you would have traded him, for about 2 to 3 first-round draft picks, all right, and you would have built your team in a different facet. But now they're stuck with Kingsbury now, and they're not going to really make any noise, all right? And if they get to an NFC championship, I will be shocked. If they ever are in a Super Bowl, I will be incredibly shocked. And if they ever get to an NFC championship, if they ever get to a Super Bowl, I'll say that it was worth the contract. If they ever get to a Super Bowl. If they ever get to an NFC championship, if they get to an NFC championship this year, I'll say, wow, it's looking like I might be wrong on this thing. All right, I'll give you a little bit of credit for locking in Kyler Murray. If they make a divisional round playoff, all right, in the next 3 to 4 years, I will come back. I will make a bet. That not this year, because he's still under a cheap contract this year. He's still making $950,000. He's under $1 million, I believe, or something this year. In the coming years, if Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals, if they are in the playoffs and they are in the divisional round, and yes, if they make the divisional round of the playoffs, let me think. Yeah, if they're in the final 4 of the NFC, will I make that deal? certainly an NFC championship. I'm very comfortable making that deal. That we start it next year. In the next 4 years, they ain't making an NFC championship. That's not going to happen. Will they maybe sneak into a divisional round? They probably aren't going to play very well in that divisional round. I'm trying to think of what's guaranteed. Odds are they're not even going to make the divisional round in the coming years. So, I look at this contract, and again, it's just going, it's not thinking outside the box with Kyler Murray. It's putting tons of trust in this 5'10 quarterback. It's putting tons of trust in Cliff Kingsbury. I'll make a bet that within 2 years, Kingsbury is gone. He might even get fired this year, okay? Is struggling. He's struggling at the end of games. His decision-making isn't very good. The team is teetering. The culture is not very good. This thing's gonna blow up and be awful in about 2 or 3 years. This thing's gonna be a ghost town. It's gonna be terrible in about 3 years. Okay, this contract is not good. All right, and listen, Kyler Murray, really nice kid, incredibly athletic, dynamic quarterback that has been a solid quarterback under his rookie deal. It doesn't mean that in his second part of his second deal that he's now gonna be a top 8 player at the position that is now gonna make such a difference for Arizona and their franchise. I don't believe it. So I guess I'm challenging Kyler Murray on this because again, I talk football on here. All right, and that's what I do on here. And I guess I'm motivating Kyler Murray. Like, I don't believe he can take Arizona, deep into the playoffs. I don't believe Kyler Murray can be that dynamic as a quarterback to be a top 8, top 9 quarterback in this league. I don't believe it. So let's see if Kyler can really do it. All right. And I'm challenging him to do it. And yeah. I mean, he's been a decent pick as a first-round overall pick, all right? Kyler Murray, again, great guy, all right? So it might come across harsh, but you're going to get opinions on football players on this channel. And some are going to be very positive and some, might be a little bit negative when you talk about such a monumental contract that has such an impact overall on a franchise in the Arizona Cardinals.